most amazing artists, and welcome to a brand new project. This project is inspired by the art movement pop art, and specifically we're going to be learning about an artist named Andy Warhol. To learn more about the subject of pop art and Andy Warhol, then please go watch our presentation for this week so you know exactly what I'm talking about. For this project, we are going to be visually illustrating an onomatopoeia in a pop art style. An onomatopoeia is a word that imitates the actual sound that it is describing. Some examples of an onomatopoeia could be like if you're sneezing and you say achoo. When you spell that word out, it's spelled A-C-H-O-O, so that word is imitating the actual sound that it's describing. Another one could be bark, boom, pow, pop. There are so many different onomatopoeias that you can choose from, but we're just going to choose one, and today we are going to be sketching out, we're going to visually illustrate this onomatopoeia. So a really good example is if you use the onomatopoeia tick-tock, like a clock goes tick-tock, then you could write out the words tick-tock, and we're going to turn those letters into something that represents that sound. So you could turn the I into like a hand of a clock. There are so many different examples, and we're going to go over some of those in our demo video today, but I want you guys to kind of play around with different onomatopoeias that you can think of. If you're stuck on what onomatopoeia to do, I'm going to leave a list on our Google Classroom so you can look through all those different words and think of and try to sketch out how you could visually illustrate those words. How can you turn those letters into something that represents that sound the onomatopoeia is describing? Alright, so go ahead and grab your paper, a pencil, and eraser, and let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so I have my paper, my pencil, and my eraser. I also have this sheet that I printed out that just lists a bunch of different onomatopoeias. You can find this sheet on our Google Classroom under today's date. So we're just going to go through, and I'm just going to see which ones stand out to me. And I'm gonna write them down. You don't have to do this step, but it helps me because right now I see a lot of words on this piece of paper, and I need to narrow it down to like 5 or so of words that I think I might want to use for my final artwork. Alright, so going through all these words, I had some ideas for a lot of them, but these are my 3 most favorite ones: drip, bubble, and click. Before we start visually illustrating each of these words, we need to learn how to create bubble letters. And the way that I create bubble letters is I just go ahead and I write the word. I'm not going to do it too big for my sketch. And I'm using my best handwriting. And I'm going to do drip first. So I just spelled out the word drip. And to do the bubble letters, I'm just going to do one line, curvy line, going all around. And I wrote the letter pretty light, so after I get done drawing a line around the letter that follows the same shape as the letter, I can go back and erase the first letter that I drew. And bubble letters, there are inside, so I'm just gonna come around. So now I turned that D into a bubble letter. Let's go over that one more time for our R. I'm just gonna go on the outside of the R, and I'm going to trace all the way around it, following the shape of the letter R. And I'm going to take my eraser and erase that letter on the inside. So now I just have the outline of my bubble letter, and an R has a circle in it, so I'm just going to draw that. So now I have a bubble letter R. I is really simple because it's just one straight line. We're just going to draw a long, skinny oval all the way around it. Then I can erase my I. And there's my bubble letter for I. And last but not least, P. On the outside of the P, I'm just going to draw a line all the way around it, tracing that letter. Then I can go in and erase the P. And a P does have a circle in it. Or it's really like an oval, I guess. Just like that. So now I have my bubble letters. So with whatever word that you choose, the first step is to create it in bubble letters first. Then we're going to visually illustrate it. After you do your bubble lettering, we're going to visually illustrate these words. The way that we are going to visually illustrate this word is we're going to turn each of these letters into something that represents that sound this word is describing. So for drip, I think of little water droplets, so I could draw, I could do little drips of water coming down off of my letters to make each of the letters look kind of drippy. And when I'm thinking of how to visually illustrate this, I'm just kind of guessing how to draw this. Like, I don't really know how to draw drips, but I'm just trying my best, and I want it to look like these drips are coming off of my letters. So I'm going back in and erasing that little line, so it looks like that drip is a part of this letter D now. And if you want, you can make each of your letters different. However, for this one, I think I want all of my letters to have little drips coming down. And in each letter, I'm just going back and I'm adding some smaller details. And I'm just going in and adding these kind of long, skinny ovals to make it look shiny, like this is water dripping off of these letters. So there is my sketch for the word drip, and I do want to go in and add little raindrop shapes to make it look like there's little tiny water drips coming off as well. So there we go, that is the onomatopoeia drip visually illustrated. So your goal is to really transform each of your bubble letters into something new. Let's say, for example, you have the onomatopoeia meow. Maybe you turn the O in meow into a cat's head, or something that's associated with that word or that sound. This is super fun because you can get really creative with all of your different onomatopoeias. Today is all about sketching out those ideas and figuring out which one you like the best so that we can use it for our final artwork. So now I am going to go ahead and sketch out my other choice, which was bubble. I'm just gonna write the letters normally first in uppercase. You could do uppercase or lowercase, whatever you want. After I write it normally, I'm gonna go around each of the letters with one line just to give me the shape of that letter. And I can go in and erase the first letter that I drew, and the letter B has 2 semicircles in it, so I need to draw those in. I'm just drawing, tracing around each letter and erasing the inside letter to create my bubble letter. Alright, once you get your bubble letters, I am now going to think about how can I visually illustrate the onomatopoeia bubble. And the first thing that comes to my mind is, instead of having these semicircles in the center, I think I want to turn these little openings in my bubble letter into actual bubbles. So let's see how that turns out. I might end up loving it, but I also might end up hating it. So we will see. But that's what today is all about, is to kind of see what you like, what you don't like, what you want to use, and what you definitely don't want to use. And I kind of love it, so I'm going to keep turning those into bubbles. I don't think that turning these openings in my letters was quite enough to truly visually illustrate the onomatopoeia bubble. So I'm just going to go around and add some more details, like little bubbles flying around these letters. I could add some more highlights into the actual letters themselves, because that's actually how I'm drawing my bubbles, is I'm just drawing these highlight shapes. That's where the lightest part of your bubble would be. or where the light is reflecting off of your bubble. And if you look at a bubble in real life, they are very shiny. So that is what I'm going to try to do to these letters. I did the same up here, but I kind of really like how that looks, so I'll probably end up using that in my final onomatopoeia. And if you guys need help drawing something in particular, like bubbles or cat or something, I recommend looking it up on your Chromebook. Just search up Google Images and find some inspiration, maybe a how to draw video or something, so they can teach you how to draw exactly what you're trying to do. Alright, so there is my onomatopoeia bubble visually illustrated. I put a lot of highlights in there, and that just makes it look really bubbly, like an actual bubble. And I'm wondering, how many times can I say bubble in a sentence? I think I counted 4 just now. So anyways, let's get to our last onomatopoeia. And for me, that is click. So I'm gonna go ahead, write my letters, and I'm gonna turn them into bubble letters, and I'll be right back to show you how I will visually illustrate the word click. So that is how I decided to visually illustrate the word click. What I first thought of was like a computer mouse on the screen, how it's like an arrow. So I turned each of my letters into little arrows. And then I thought that wasn't enough, so I started thinking about computers and what the screens are made out of, and that gave me the idea to put in little pixels, like just little squares in there to represent the pixels on a computer screen. So you guys can get super duper creative with what you want to turn your letters into. I don't want you guys to worry too much about how your sketches look. Sketching is all about just getting your ideas down on a piece of paper. It's not about it looking perfect or beautiful or a masterpiece or anything. That is what our final artwork is for, is that's when we take our time and really try our best. It can be scribble scrabble, it can be whatever. As long as you're getting some ideas out, some original ideas, and you're really trying to think outside of the box and thinking creatively, how can you turn this onomatopoeia, how can you visually illustrate it, turn those letters into things that represent that sound the word is describing. All right, I hope you guys had a lot of fun sketching out different ideas on how to visually illustrate an onomatopoeia. I would like you guys to at least do 3 different ones, but you could do more if you want to. We just need to have at least 3 ideas to choose from for next week, because we're going to draw our final onomatopoeia next week. I cannot wait to see how your sketches turn out. I know they're going to be amazing because you guys are amazing. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. Bye.